Why should you start a podcast? That's a great question. I will give you the bad news straight off the bat. Friend of mine, Ed Parco, once turned around, and I think he said it was 1320. That's the number between which episodes most podcasts cease existence. I think it was 1320 where he said that they got to in between that kind of dead man's land and went, I'm not going to bother with this. That's because people quite simply get into podcasts for 9 times out of 10, the wrong reason. They want to be Joe Rogan. They want to get bought out by Spotify. They want to make millions of money. And a lot of people do make an incredible amount of money from podcasts. I get offered sponsorship deals maybe once a month, twice a month sometimes, on people going, hey, can we sponsor your podcast? Can we do this? And I say no, because I'm very, very clear with what's the point. In fact, anyone in my coaching group knows that my mantra for pretty much every decision I make is, well, what's the point? And quite often the point isn't what you may think it is at the beginning. You see, I didn't do a podcast because I wanted to get notoriety. I didn't get a podcast because, hey, I felt as though my accent and my voice was really cool and you'd all want to hear it. I launched my podcast first and foremost to allow me a platform to engage in conversations which I would not normally have. I had a media vehicle, and of course, at the beginning, with a whole listening community of maybe one, I needed to build that up. And so I needed to build that up. So I had this platform so I could go to people and I could go, hey, you're releasing a book. Let me have my own 20, 30, an hour-long conversation with you promoting your book, but answering my questions. I wanted to have those conversations with people that I could give them a platform to release that product, that service, that new release, while at the same time, selfishly, being able to ask some of the most powerful, brilliant people, the Dan Martells, the Jim Quicks, the Jay Abrahams, the Greg Reeds, the Brandon Turners, and some weirder ones, the Sammy the Bull, prostitutes, gang members, priests. I've had some interesting conversations and gone, what do you think about this? How do you do this? Now, the byproduct is that I've been able to then record it and put it out for you, who may have the same questions I do. And I get a lot of times people contact me going, why didn't you ask that question? I'm like, that's great. The next person I get, someone in a similar kind of sandpit, that's the question I ask. So I say to people, let me know the kind of questions that you want to know from these kind of people. And they can answer your problems. I'm a great believer that someone's got the answer to your problem. You just need to come up with the right question. And so podcasts are not about me becoming famous. They're not about me selling out to Spotify. They're not about me making a fortune out of sponsorship. In fact, I've declined the sponsorships because I don't want to be dictated to the content. I don't want to turn around and go, hey, I'm going to have a gang member on. I'm going to have a prostitute. I'm going to have a rock star. I'm going to have someone that does Facebook ads. I don't want someone dictating and going, oh, we'd rather you didn't have that one. Or we don't think that person complies with our brand. I remember having a conversation with Sammy the Bull Gravano, who was John Gotti's hitman. A hitman to a group which apparently doesn't exist, the Mafia. Please don't come and get me. And I had a conversation with him on respect and eye contact and keeping your word. Well, surely we should be able to have that kind of conversation with anyone. Just happened to have it to a man that was a little bit scary. So the bottom line of it is, if you're going to do a podcast, and I think you should, it's a phenomenal Trojan horse to come in under the, hey, I'm going to give you attention. I'm going to spread the word about your book. I've got a media platform. Because let's be serious. In today, we're in an attention economy, okay? And where are you going to trust? Facebook ads? The local newspaper? No. Fake news and adverts. You paid for it. You're saying it. But if someone's asking questions on a podcast, it gives you the chance to get involved in that person. It gets you the chance to be saturated by their tone of voice, their tempo, their cadence, how they deliver, what they're saying. Are they arrogant? Are they shy? It gets you to understand the person. It's an eavesdrop on that person for you to go, do you know, I'd like to follow this person. I'd like to buy their book. So the Trojan horses, it works brilliantly for the person coming on if you position it that way. But the real reason that I did it was that I could slip out the belly and ask the questions to people that I wanted to ask. I wouldn't be able to phone up some of these fantastic people that have been on my podcast and go, hey, don't have a podcast, but I've got an hour's worth of questions I'd love to ask you that will help my business. How often do you think they would say, yeah, let's do that? But a podcast was a great platform to do it. The daft thing is, because I carried on doing it and I have so much fun and I'm not being ordered by anyone and I do it how I want to do it and I get the guests on it that I want to get on it, because I've got through that 13 to 20 mark, it's just carried on. And I honestly can't tell you how many years it's been in existence, but I can tell you because it's basically outlasted some of the other ones, that my podcast is registered within the top 0.5% of America. Top 0.5%. Don't do any advertising. Don't do any promotion of it. I stick it on my newsletters, but it's a chance of me having conversations. And the byproduct is I've turned up in the top 0.5% rated podcasts in the planet. You don't have to be Joe Rogan. You don't have to be Tim Ferriss. You don't have to be any of these people to have a top rated podcast. You need to last, you need to have a point, and you need to have a reason. And trust me, being able to ask people questions that benefit you, that hopefully will help other people that have the same inquisitive questions as you do, how is it not a win-win for absolutely everyone? So I urge you, if you've got a phone, if you've got a laptop, if you've got a voice, and if you've got a point, start a podcast.